What I see in the markets is the same thing that you'll see in traditional finance. Where is the positivity that could push not just crypto up, but traditional finance up? When I look at the market, I look at it and I say, I want to own more assets. Because as time goes on, I think that's the only thing that really can save you. Because what are you going to do? Get yourself into cash at 9% inflation rate? Well, you just inflate yourself away. You can buy things, but the hard assets I think are the best ones. And then one of those is Bitcoin.
Dear crypto community blockchain buddies across the globe, welcome back to Cryptonites, the no BS blockchain channel built with the community and for the community. And today we have another mind-blowing guest, Rob from Digital Asset News. And we know that we are here suffering together with these terrible, sluggish, and bloody markets, which we will cover. But before that, I'd like to introduce you to the wonderful Rob. Thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
Always a good time. Thanks,
How
Alex.
is Europe so far?
Yeah, so it's crazy because, first of all, I think I brought all the nice weather, as you can see.
Yeah, you did.
Because everybody told me, when you get here, it's just going to be raining all the time. I'm like, really? I came in, sunshine and beautiful. I'm like, it's like I'm back in Puerto Rico, just people have a little bit different accents.
You did bring the sunshine literally all week. It's been amazing. And Rob, I must kick off with the pain, if you don't mind. I know it's I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but this reminds me of 2018. And I'm just feeling lots of pain. How should I react in these markets?
No, man. I mean, look, you got to bring up the pain because all the people out there and they talk about, well, the market's still in a bull market. I'm like, I mean, you can talk about all the hopium that you want to, and that's what, let's be honest, but that's what will get you clicks. But the reality is that these markets, they suck for sometimes. And there's a natural progression. And it's just like Peter Lynch said. He said, look, everybody's got the brain power to invest. The question is, do you have the stomach for it? And this is the time right now when millionaires and billionaires are made. I know it hurts to say it, but let's be honest. This is the only way we're going to get through. So me and you both did it in 2017, right? We thought we were geniuses. Like, this is the easiest thing of all time. We rode it all the way up, and then it crashed all the way back down in 2018. But no one told us, well, no one told me, right? John McAfee told me Bitcoin's going to $1 million. I believed it. And everybody else told me that this time was different. First of all, it's never different. So when we go in to look at these, there is a natural progression, a natural cycle. And this is exactly where we're at. We're in a bear market, and this is where millionaires and billionaires are made. The question is, how are you going to react?
So are you saying that you believe that it's easier to buy the lows than sell the highs?
Oh.
In that sense? So you're saying like millionaires now, they're the people who are accumulating at this point, or?
See, this is the thing. We all know these things, right? We know, we talk about buying a dip, which is not advisable to buy every dip. And by the way, this is all investment opinion, not investment advice. Everything I say in here, just be taken with a grain of salt. I have been wrong before, actually a lot, ask my wife. But I mean, really, if you take a look at all the different things that people do, we know in the community that, yeah, we're going to ride out this, I mean, the people that are still here, not the crypto tourists, sorry. But the people that actually write out and go, okay, we're waiting for this bear market. We buy down here because we can get 5, 10, 30x times worth of the crypto that I could in the bull market. And then when it turns around, which inevitably it will, that's when I can make most of my profits. So right now, the people that are here, I think, are the ones that should be here and can stomach it. And the ones that have already left, listen, unfortunately, there's a reason why there's so few millionaires in the world, and there's a poverty level and there's a middle income level. It's because people don't sometimes realize that just to actually invest into these times, this is the time to invest. Not at the big peaks, the big FOMO, because that's where everybody gets wrecked. So I think that, yeah, right now I think people are starting to realize that this is where I get the big discounts. But it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough, especially for those who it's their first big dip, right? Like us in 2018. Like what you're saying about learning through these tough times. Yeah. I feel like I have thicker skin these days, right? Have you learned some good lessons or felt, made some big mistakes in the 2018 crash?
So like right now we're laughing, right? But I know in 2018 we were laughing.
Yeah.
So like I had to tell my wife, look, remember that crypto I was investing into? Yeah, it just went down by like 70, 80%. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I said, I think I overplayed my hand, and I'm not in the business of losing money. So I think this still has legs. I think there's still a lot of rails to be built. So we're just going to keep investing. How are you going to do that? Well, we're just going to dollar cost average or value cost average, just play it over time. And since we've been in 2018, it's just kind of a natural progression to know what's going to happen. And now most of the people here in 2021, they're like, this is off. Because I heard this was supposed to go to the moon. All these different influencers told me it was supposed to. They said it was going to go. Well, it doesn't just go like that. And that's, I think, one of the problems in this industry is that people have to be reality. In the very first comment you said, Alex, you said, should I even be talking about this? Yeah, we got to talk about this because it's realistic. So yes, we go up and we go down. And yes, we have that thick skin. And the last thing I'll say is I remember in 2018, turning back on Twitter and YouTube and looking at the same people who I would listen to, and it's like it was no big deal. I was like, how the hell can you just sit there and say it's no big deal when I just lost 70, 80% of my portfolio? Well, I didn't sell, it's the value's down. And now I realize what it is. It's because they lived through it, now we lived through it, and now it's their turn. And unfortunately, that's how it is.
And so cool how you're still cool as a cucumber, right? Because you've been through the pain already. It's almost like that's the way life is, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the same thing with, like, everything. People think, like, oh, this market's pretty easy. Because, I just saw this Dogecoin millionaire, and he invested 2 weeks ago, and now he's got a Lambo. So why can't I do that? Well, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a get-rich-quicker, I guess you could say. I mean, as opposed to like investing into, I don't know, gold and silver, which I own. I own gold and silver. All the gold and silver bugs don't jump on me. But it's a little bit faster progression. It's an asymmetrical bet.
I think you mentioned something really important, which kind of brings us to portfolio diversification, right? So Rob, unfortunately, due to my biases, I'm so deep down the rabbit hole where I have no interest in stocks. I have no interest in buying any type of alternative investment. I'm all in crypto, but my portfolio, like you said, Bitcoin is down 45, 50%. My alts are down 80%.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I too far down that rabbit hole?
There's two ways to look at it. People will say, if you want to diversify, that's not a good idea to get massively wealthy, right? Because if you can just keep putting into one sector, then you can get even Warren Buffett talks about it. However, like, you can do that, and that's fine. Sometimes you gotta wait a little bit longer. So like for me, like I like to diversify as time goes on, because I think to myself, well, these times suck, but I'd like to put into assets. So like me and my wife, we like to purchase real estate and lands, and then we purchase these things, and then we put them on Airbnb and Vrbo and rent them out for short-term rentals. That works out okay. Stocks, yeah, okay, we can get in a little bit of that, but not too much. I mean, that's just because I'm just like you. I can get into stocks like the Amazons and the Teslas, but real estate and property keeps me, it's amazing, because like, first of all, it's a great tax incentive. You can use that for different tax write-offs as far as like depreciation, which is also nice. Yeah. And then here's what's great about the market and the recession, which I think we're going to go into at some point, is that if you have like real estate and property, people can't buy real estate and property because it's super overinflated. But guess what? Everybody needs a place to live. So if we want to do a long-term rental, it works out pretty well. And then of course, like for crypto, now I can take some money over here, or maybe in my other business that for Amazon FBA, and I can put it into crypto and dollar cost average when it hits the ground, which I'll never time the bottom, so I'm not that smart. But as it goes down, I can just keep buying these little peaks and valleys and then wait for it to go up. So I like to diversify just a little bit and go from there. And the last thing I'll say about it is sometimes it pays off to be a degenerate, a degen. When I got into 2017, it was all about blue chips, get into Bitcoin, maybe some Ethereum, maybe.
That was cute.
Yeah, see, that kid knows.
Yeah, he likes blue chips, right?
He's like, exactly, moron. So like, and that was the big thing. And then we get into a little bit of alts. But as time goes on, I kind of feel like, you have this wheel of your portfolio, right? You have crypto, a little bit of stocks, a little bit of properties, maybe gold and silver, bonds if you're that type of person, I suppose. But then also like a 1 to 5% allocation for like degen plays. And we did I started a second channel for that, the Digital Asset News Degen. I tell you, be prepared to lose it all, because these are the most risky of risky plays, and sometimes it's fun. So far, I've done okay. We took a look at Gensokishi in the metaverse, and of course, they had a great team. The utility was there. They had a lot of backdrop as far as like the developers. So Gensokishi, Everdome, we just talked about a Fame MMA, and we always look at what I call, will they make the cut, which is how big is their community? Does it really have real utility? How's the team? I know the tokenomics good. Are they going to dump on? So we take a look at that, and that's like the whole wheel of portfolio. And again, Alex, you don't have to do that stuff. You can just say, you know what, I'm going to dollar cost average Bitcoin, and probably in 10 years going to be a multi millionaire. But it just depends on how you want to get there and how much stress you want.
But it makes sense in terms of train of thought, because people always still want to try to find a way to build their wealth regardless of the markets, right? Even in a bear market, there's always opportunity somewhere, right? If you look well.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Who was it? Jim Cramer says this. I know people are like, ugh, Jim Cramer. But he has a point. He goes, there's a bull market somewhere.
Yeah.
And like even today, if you look at some of the different portfolios or crypto that's out there, there's some that are up, 5, 6, 10%. It's not that many. Yeah. But the question really then becomes is like, which ones are they? I can't tell you all those numbers, but I will tell you this, that sometimes like to get into a little bit of diversification in those degen plays, maybe you invest into 5 and 4 just suck and bomb, but it doesn't matter because the one, that's the asymmetrical bet, that pulls you out of everything and keeps everything afloat. So yeah.
That's usually what the crypto VCs say, right? I don't care if 9 out of 10 go to the dumpster, right? But if one takes off, it will pay for another 20 investments.
Yeah, and it's right, but it really comes down to like how much do you have, how much are you willing to lose?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I got to tell you, the altcoin that are out there in 2017, they're not here anymore. In the top 10 from 2017, if you looked at it, if you go to CoinMarketCap/history and look at 2017 top 10, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, I think maybe XRP. But besides that, all those other ones are gone. Well, Tether, but no one cares about Tether. So when you take a look at it, 99% of those are going to be gone anyhow. Yeah. And you can just see it roll over again, especially with what's going on right now.
Yeah, when you look at the 2017 projects and the top 100 coins by market cap, it looks completely different in 2022, right?
Yeah, man. And then like some people will say, and this is not a popular opinion, but I'll tell you, is that some people say, well, just keep dollar cost averaging, just putting it in there. You can do that. But I'll tell you, I have an example. I call it a dash of salt. And if you're a Dash or salt holder, I'm not going to here to ruffle your feathers, but if you take a look at Dash was over 1,000 at some point, and that was in 2017. Then when the big run-up in 2021 came, it hit, I want to say 250, maybe 300, but now it's down again. So it didn't even hit its all-time high from the last bull run. So what happened with the infrastructure? I don't know. I haven't really done a deep dive into it, but if you take a look at where the fastest horse is, that ain't it. And you take a look at Dash, and you also take a look at Salt. And Salt was a lending platform, and in 2017 they got pinched by the SEC, just like what happened with Ripple. So they came in and said, this is security, and then everything dropped off. So if you invest into those, and even dollar cost average right now, you'd probably still be underwater. So really you want to take a look at these projects and really take a look at your channel, take a look at some other channels, and really dive deep and do your own research, because even if you dollar cost average, it's not going to save you at the end of the day. You got to pick the right projects.
Quiz of the week. Now the question is, what is the biggest mistake you've made as an investor, and what was the lesson you learned? Put it in the comments box below, and you'll be eligible for an NFT. Woo! Hey, just going back quickly to the Degen plays, if my grandma Susie was here, how would you explain that for people who don't understand what a Degen play is?
So Degen is like the most risky plays you can possibly get, right? And
so super early stage.
Super early stage. If you want to be really Degen, you can look at these projects that aren't even out yet, right? They're in this infancy where they're like, okay, we're going to do a TGE, a token generation event. And it's even before that time frame. And of course, we took a look at these 3 that worked out okay. Gensokishi, Everdome, and Fame MMA. And if you look at those and invest in those early, sometimes it pays off pretty well. That's a very Degen play. And again, just expect to lose everything because that's the nature of the beast.
And you just mentioned earlier, I think it's really good because it's not just dollar cost averaging, but it's actually choosing the right technology and the right project, which I think we can dive a little bit deeper into that, because that's a very interesting play, Rob, because I'm wondering if you want to DCA right now, like what are the asset classes or sub-asset classes that you find attractive? Obviously, metaverse is one of those big names, but what are you looking into these days in terms of asset classes?
So my channel, I'm very conservative as much as I possibly can be. And I like the blue chip cryptos, as you were, the Bitcoin, Ethereum. That's over 70% of my portfolio. So I know when I'm talking about Degen plays, you have to understand I'm talking about it, but it's in a place of where I can kind of take that 1 to 3% and be okay to shove it off. So I think Bitcoin, doesn't matter how far back you go in coin market cap, like we just talked about, it's always number one. So if you take a look at that, and then you take a look at some layer one solutions, because I don't know where the dApps are coming from. I don't know which ones are going to be the winners of DeFi, but I can just tell you if it's like a layer 0, layer 1, so like an Ethereum, a Solana, a Cardano, a Polkadot, an Avalanche, or a Cosmos. I like those because, again, it's where did all the people get rich in the gold rush? Well, it wasn't the people that found the gold, it was the picks and shovels.
Yeah,
so the picks
infrastructures.
Yeah, the infrastructure. So I'm more like, I can't keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'll just go for the layer ones and diversify a little bit there. And then if one makes it, great. If the other four make it, well, that's how it is. And then that's where we go from. So I like those plays. And then I think play to earn games will be big. Just depends on which ones are sustainable. We talked about that because some are just not, to be honest. And then the biggest thing that I'm so excited about is the move to earn. And people are like, what the hell is that? So, you get paid to move. And I know we talked about when you had the video with the CEO of SWEATCOIN, and he made it sound so simple. The data that is there and the actual progress or the positivity of just moving, it's important to different brands, different corporations, to governments. I shouldn't say governments. I should say people in the nation, because the more that you move, the healthier you are, and the lower it actually increases life expectancy and then reduces the
productivity right? Yeah.
And then also the healthcare. So there's value in that, and I can see where that is going. The thing is, how good are the tokenomics going to be, and how are they going to put it out to actually make it sustainable? That, to me, I think, is one I really want to get into. So, Degen play.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I'm a huge fan of move to earn as well, just because, like you said, the physical activity, it's contributing to health. And, these days where the world is becoming more virtual, maybe we're a little bit less active, perhaps, right? And so the message is for the greater good, right?
It's like, just like you said, it's like the Wally world.
Yeah.
you got these huge people. I mean, not here in London. Everybody's
like
in shape.
bouncing on their bums.
Yeah, everybody's in shape in London. It makes me want to do like sit up. But like, yeah, you see it. And if more people could be a little more in shape, I think it'd be better for everybody else. And if we have to monetize that, we monetize that. Hey.
Now, one question I have with regards to the L1s, which, by the way, I agree with you 100%. I'm only accumulating either exchange tokens that have real fundamentals and real revenue generation, and the L1s or L0s, because you can earn interest on them through proof of stake, right? Which is great, while you accumulate. But, like you said earlier, Warren Buffett is all about, if you do too much portfolio diversification, that means you're not studying one vertical enough.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't know which L1, as you mentioned, is going to be the next railroad. By the way, you know how I explained this to my great uncle about the L1s? I say, great uncle, this is kind of like buying the railroads back in the 20th century, early 20th century, right? It's infrastructure, but rather than being hardware, it's software. But how do you feel about this Warren Buffett philosophy versus, but we don't know which L1 will succeed?
See, I think it's easier to evaluate stocks because you can look at the quarterly earnings, you can look at the data behind everything. And that's where Warren Buffett feels comfortable. I understand. And of course, Warren Buffett, he passed on Google, he passed on Apple, he passed on Amazon. And actually, he made fun of Jeff Bezos at a gala, and because he just didn't understand. So if you take a look at technology and how fast things go, like the example I just gave, there's nothing against Dash or Salt, but look at how far things progress and how quickly we are. Like Solana, right? Solana came out of essentially nowhere over a year ago, and now it's in the top 10 like it's nothing. So I think to say which one's going to be the best one, I can't say what it is, but I will tell you my investments will change as the time goes on. I think if you have this diehard philosophy of mine is the only one that can make it, that's great. But is that backed up by research, or is that backed up by just a belief, a hope, and a dream? So you have to take a look at it and make the hard choice and go, I got to cut you. And then go into something else.
Is that like your, was it the airport meme that you do? What was it again? Like
Which one? Oh, yeah. So, yeah. There's a guard and he's just patting people down and he's doing a very bad job at it because he doesn't really care. And that's what I compared to if you were a crypto investor and you're taking a look real hard at doing your own research. Some people just go, this looks pretty good. And then that's kind of like the same thing. They don't really do a ton of research because like we hear about all the time, like do your own research. Like what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, what does it mean? Yeah, exactly.
So that's like, we did a video about that. And actually it was me and Ian Bellina and we talked about it and he just told us like his old ways that he did it, but it's the same thing. What is the community? How big is the community? What's the utility? Is it a Me Too project or is it something else? How is the team? What have they done before? Because if you can kind of see where they've been, you kind of see where they're going, then what are the tokenomics and what are the lockup periods? And the last thing, I always say, will it make the cut? And the M stands for marketing. And if you have a crypto project that already has good marketing or built-in user base, it's so much easier to get things off the ground. That's why Genso was such an easy play, because they already had 1 million plus downloads for Android devices. They've already been on PS4 and Nintendo Switch. So I'm like, they already have it locked up. I don't need to do a bunch of marketing. So it made sense to me to do something like that.
As an investor, Rob, if I can ask you a really tough question,
No.
curveball.
Okay.
What would be 3 good lessons that you've learned over the years as an investor?
Oh, okay. So here's one I love. This time is different. So I heard this in 2018 and I go, well, maybe it is different. Or no, in 2017, maybe it is different. And then it crashed. And then when I would do videos, I would talk about there's an impending bear market and it's going to go down. And people are like, Rob, you are dumb. You don't know what you're talking about because there's too many corporations and there's a sovereign nation called El Salvador. MicroStrategy is going to keep us buoyed and all these corporations. Okay, this time it's different. It's not different because at some point it's going to go down. So that was one of the things I learned. The other thing that I learned is that the more that I've learned, it's like with Socrates. The more I learn, the more I don't know. So even though I look at these markets and I think I know where things are going, I'm wrong. I'm wrong sometimes. Like I thought that Bitcoin would go to 150K by the end of the year. That didn't happen. I thought that Voyager, the token, was going to go at $30, and it was at 29 cents, January 2021.
And you called that bull run, by the way, I remember.
Yeah, but I was still wrong on some things.
Okay.
So but thank you, I appreciate it. So like Voyager, I said it's going to $30, and it was at 29 cents. Went to $3, $5, $7, topped out there, and then it went all the way down to like $2. So I was still wrong about that. So I know that, like, even though I think I know, no one has a crystal ball and no one's a future. And the last thing I will say, no predictions. I think those are a plague on this industry. I hate to say it like that, but it is. Because like it hypes people up and it doesn't give them that maturity to say, look, what you invest into, it could go either way. Over time, I'm very bullish. But on the short term, you have to understand there's massive volatility. So if I give you a price prediction of, say, Bitcoin 150K, and people say, well, Rob said it's going to 150K, that's not the right play. I think the right play is saying as the rails come in and the more investors come in, we're going to see an increase in price action, but I can never say exactly what it's going to be. I can tell you it's going to go up in a certain way, but I just can't tell you when. So those are the 3 things I learned.
No, great tips. And going back all the way to the beginning of the interview, if we rewind, remember we talked about the current situation, the pain, bearish scenarios, etc. Obviously, we won't predict anything, but I know that you're not feeling these markets so much, and we may be in pain for a little while still. How are you seeing the current markets and where we're going now?
Yeah, so I see it like this. Some people will say, well, there's a breakout coming. And it could be. Again, I'm never 100% correct. But what I see in the markets is the same thing that you'll see in traditional finance. To me personally, I'm like, where is the positivity or the narrative that could push not just crypto up, but traditional finance up? I mean, we've got a problem with supply chains. China's in another shutdown right now. And then we see a lot of the disruptions that are going on, like just like the overpricedness of real estate and land. And then of course the inflated numbers for the stock market. that is pumped up way too much. If the inflation numbers are 8.5%, if you believe that's what it is, I think it's higher. Then those are inflated numbers, and people are going to get out of that into what they think is a store of value, which is cash, which is not a store of value. It's a medium of exchange. So I see these people getting out. I don't see a very positive narrative. Again, that's why, like, when I look at the market, I look at, I say, I want to own more assets, because as time goes on, I think that's the only thing that really can save you. Because what are you going to do? Get yourself into cash at 9% inflation rate? Well, you just inflate yourself away. You can buy things, but the hard assets, I think, are the best ones. And then one of those is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, yeah, it makes sense. It's sad, Rob, because, inflation was kind of our cool narrative, but because of the war, because, as you said, commodities, wheat,
the war, yeah.
And the pandemic still, and there's so many negatives that it's almost like killing our main narrative, which was inflation, right?
Yeah, and I think it was supposed to be like, yeah, it's not that bad. But then we see it just keeps slipping up and up and up. And I think people are getting wise to it. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, people weren't talking about inflation that much, and people didn't even know. They're like, well, I know it inflates a little bit, but now everybody talks about it. So hopefully the education that people get, and they realize, like, this paper money isn't really what I need to be into. I should be into more hard assets. Maybe that'll turn things around, but I think it's going to take some time.
But we'll bear it, right? We'll bear the bear market.
We'll bear it, but this is, again, the time when millionaires and billionaires are made. Now, can you do it? Anybody can do it. It's just having that dedication to go, I'm gonna ride this out 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. I can't tell you I know, but I think if you can bear it out for like 1 to 3 years, you're gonna be so much happier, dude. I know we are. I mean, it worked out for us.
I mean, there's so many golden nuggets in what you're saying. It's almost, we could zoom in on every single sentence. And I agree with you, bro. Like, it's hard, right? Like, people just, buy low, sell high is easy to say, but it's actually very hard to apply, right? Like, emotionally, but,
You know what's harder to do? Like, I found it easy to buy low. You know what I found really hard was to sell.
Oh yeah, selling is so hard.
Yeah, and I thought, well, it's going to go up, and towards the end of December, I thought, well, this is not going to work out. In November, and there's a video I did about how we purchased a property in Puerto Rico. I had to sell some crypto because I had to actually sell a little bit of crypto, and I had to actually put a loan out using Celsius to buy this house, because you can only buy it in cash. And it worked out okay, but again, that was one of the catalysts to go, oh yeah, I forget, I got to take profits along the way because I need dry powder on the side to when things like this happen. And again, it's never different. It's always the same thing. There's always cycles, and we're always going to go have our peaks and valleys, and that's just how it goes.
I think that's the perfect way to end this interview. Yeah. Just the words of wisdom. Rob, It's been a pleasure. We've been talking for a long time. I had the chance to come on your show.
Yeah.
Now IRL, is that what they call it? The cool kids these days?
Well, those are cool. I don't know what that means.
I'm not a huge fan of the acronyms either. Yeah, whatever. In real life, apparently. But thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. You're a real wealth of wisdom, and there's so many good things. We'll put some links below for people to follow you and have that cool, composed, calculated show instead of the craziness that I do here.
Yeah, I try. Well, I just learn from all my mistakes. Warren Buffett. Learn from mistakes, but they don't have to be your mistakes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, brother. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to blast that bell notification so you get access to more of these timeless interviews we had here today. Rob from Digital Asset News. Don't forget to tune in again next week. Premiere at a PC near you, 8 o'clock BST. See you next week, guys. Thank you so much for watching the show. We love you for all the support, and tune in next week for the next episode of Cryptonites.